Now, our favorite economist, Dr. Julianne Malveaux. Dr. Malveaux, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Glad you could join us bright and early this morning.
Hey, best way to start a Monday morning.
Well, thank you so much. So now, uh, in addition to these midterms taking place in just 2 weeks, there are obviously, I just saw a story on the way in this morning about Nancy Pelosi and whether or not she's going to run again. But there are conversations about leadership within the House, especially if the Democrats win. Will Nancy Pelosi run again? Clyburn has already said to me on the air here that he intends to run. If she doesn't run or if she doesn't win on the first ballot, he's going to run for Speaker. Congresswoman Barbara Lee has said to me on the air that she pretty much announced it here. She is going to seek the position of Democratic caucus chair. And we also know that a number of other members of the Black Caucus, Dr. Malveaux, will be, who are ranking members of House committees, will now become chairs of those committees if the Democrats take back the House. So these stakes are pretty high, aren't they?
They're absolutely high. I mean, think about this. Maxine Waters would be most likely chair of financial services.
Mm-hmm.
She can do that committee. I mean, she's already done some things with Equifax and some of the other banking and data breach challenges that have taken place. She's already done that. She can push that even harder. She can look at some of the banks and the city cores, the others, and some of the things they've done. She can actually even look at some of the things that have happened with the Department of Education with financial aid and student loan irregularities and all of that.
Right.
Elijah Cummings, I was with him last week. He would be the head of House Oversight.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. He has submitted more than 50 subpoena requests to the chair, and of course they've all been denied. But as chair, Trump's dirty laundry will be hung out to dry for everybody to see.
Yeah.
He can basically subpoena all that. This election is really, really critical. And the only thing that prevents Democrats from taking back this House is Democrats staying home.
Yeah. That's it.
There are so many people. Mark, I can't tell you how close I have come to just eviscerating some of these little millennials who don't get it. Well, if you didn't get it in 16, you ought to get it now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Their elections have consequences.
Yeah.
Elections have consequences. And one of the consequences is that basically we can stop this runaway president, this runaway fool. I'm not buying into what y'all said about the syphilitic, although y'all may be right. But I'm not trying to guess anybody's health status unless it's their mental health status.
Well, no, but but that's what's out there. There's some medical professionals. It's people always, medical people are always looking at his condition, and there's a theory out there that his mental condition,
I haven't seen that theory.
yeah, and the deterioration of his brain is due to untreated syphilis.
Venereal diseases. Yeah. Oh my God.
And all I'm saying is, Dr. Malveaux, he wants to play the dozens with us. Sometimes, we got to play him back. So if he wants us to take tests and prove who we are, we're citizens, or whether we're not Native Americans, okay, well, Don, you take a syphilis test too. That's all. That's the only point I'm making.
Yeah. Well, I've heard, perhaps early onset Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be early; it would be right on time, actually, with his old self. But, whatever. He really, this alliteration he has, vote for jobs, not mobs, and the nerve to call Democrats mobs. The only mobs that we've seen have been those mobs in Charlottesville that killed Heather Hager, the young woman who was mowed over by a car. That's a mob. People protesting, people, even when people have gone into restaurants, I wouldn't like it if it were me, but hey, if you're bold enough to put, a sexual predator on the Supreme Court, you ought to be bold enough to hear people chanting at you. It's not that deep.
Yeah. Dr. Malveaux, it would be particularly historic if Barbara Lee were to become Democratic caucus chair, wouldn't it?
It would be absolutely. She would then be basically the highest-ranking African American in that lineup as caucus chair. Of course, Clyburn as the whip, but she would be highest-ranking. She really basically she has a sensibility. She'd be the first African American in caucus leadership, not House leadership, but in the caucus leadership, and she would be basically following the footsteps of her icon, Shirley Chisholm. It would be earth-shattering.
Mm-hmm.
And, we know that Barbara, the Congresswoman Lee, has been a tried and true stalwart. We know what she stands for. And so it makes sense for her to have the opportunity to have this leadership position.
So she's pretty much made up her mind that she's going to run, I think, right? She's going to do this.
She has. She's going to run, and she can win it. And I doubt that at this point in time we would see, much opposition. Of course, with all these Democratic seats, even Pelosi's, we expect that there will be challenges.
Yeah.
But Barbara Lee has served a time in the Congress. She's done a great job. And so it's really important, again, for people to look at what the possibilities and opportunities are if Democrats can take this House back.
Well, people are already lining up to run for some of these seats. Tim Ryan will be stopping by to visit me a little later today. He's going to run for Speaker, obviously. So,
okay.
so this is not out of the ordinary at this point for people to start making their case as to why they should be in some of these leadership positions.
Absolutely. No, it's right on time. And again, Barbara Lee represents such an opportunity. One of the things that we have not seen enough of in this Congress has been a focus on Africa and the diaspora, the Caribbean. And, she has a great global grounding, so that's really important. She's part of the Task Force on Poverty, Income, Inequality, and Opportunity. It has 100 members, and she has a leadership role in that task force. So when you combine the things that she cares about, she has the opportunity to push the Democrats. I won't say to the left because it's not to the left. It's to the woke. Because it's been challenging for me to see the inability to address these issues on Africa and the diaspora, on the Caribbean. Some say that it's a blessing that 45 doesn't pay attention to Africa because other than to call, S-hole countries. But the fact is that there is public policy that we can direct toward the African continent and its development that we have ignored.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely critical and important. Do we know what her opposition may or may not be in this? Does she have anybody running against her? She shouldn't. It ought to just
shouldn't. At this point, we don't know. But you know what? Again, these Democrats are like dealing with Democrats is like herding cats. I mean, everybody will have some opposition, even if it's token opposition, either because you have these younger people who are trying to make their stripes and, they don't want to wait their turn, which I understand. So you either have some of the younger people or you'll have some people who simply cover the position. But I think that because she has let it out there early,
right,
she's made it clear that she wants this position, that she's qualified to serve in the position, and that gives her the best chance to win it.
Well, you mentioned some of the young people. Clyburn and I had a conversation about that and how, it's unfair, really, for youth to be ready to retire, particularly some of these members of the Black Caucus, because some of them, because they're Black, didn't have an opportunity to seek positions in Congress until later in life. The doors weren't open for them to do it. So it's kind of we use a Satchel Paige analogy, Dr. Malveaux, and other great Negro League stars. They didn't get to the major leagues because of segregation until many of them were old and were past their prime. Satchel Paige didn't. Nobody really knows how old Satchel Paige was, but he didn't make it to the major leagues till he was in his 50s or 60s.
And then by then, all his best stats were behind him.
Right, and for that matter, Jackie Robinson, the first Rookie of the Year in history, is probably the oldest Rookie of the Year. because he was almost 30 by the time he made it to the major leagues.
Yeah, I think that the focus on age is misplaced in many ways. As you say, many of these people have. The brother from Virginia who's just come in, he came in at 60 years old. He's a second-term congressman.
Yeah.
You have people who are coming in, because, again, the levels of discrimination have dropped. People have awareness is higher. Some of the racial attitudes that white people have, some have sort of softened. And so you have people who are 60. Joyce Beatty, I don't know how old she is, but she's a recent congressperson. You can go down the list and call the roll.
Right.
The one person I was just looking, Linda Sanchez is the other who has announced that she is going for the whip position. Congresswoman Linda Sanchez from California. So she will be opposing Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee has been in there longer. I think she has done a better job. But again, as I said, Mark, this is everybody's going for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is and Sanchez has opposed Lee before. So this is not historic. This is this is a grudge. I almost call it a grudge match, but it's here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
Sanchez holds the number 5 position in the caucus. Vice chair of the Democratic caucus, so she opposed and she beat her by 2 votes last time around. But Barbara Lee I think, is better. Will have better support. I hope. I know that from last time she has learned the whole vote counting game, which she already knew. But I think that by putting it out there early and putting it out there publicly, what she's done is really staked her claim.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, I know I support her. I hope others will. I mean, this is not something that the public can vote for, folks. This boils down to the leadership in the House and them deciding to elect Barbara Lee. But there could be an unprecedented number of African Americans, Black Caucus members in leadership positions by virtue of the flip. Either way, the Democrats will elect a new caucus chair. There'll be leadership elections, whether we win the House or not. And I think we are going to win the House. And Barbara Lee is going to be.
We're going to win the House again if people vote.
If they vote,
the
right.
issue is the voting. I mean, and we can't emphasize that enough. I know a lot of people are quote tired of hearing it. Well, if you're tired, do something about it.
Right.
So it's not sufficient. I mean, I've been shilling on my Facebook page, which doesn't mean a lot, but I'm shilling on my Facebook page, and people have come on saying, "Well, I voted," and my response is, "Oh, go get 10 more."
Yeah. Don't stop. Go get some more.
Don't
assume everybody else is going to vote.
Call your relatives, especially in Georgia and Florida.
Right.
Call your relatives. Call your friends. Make sure people are voting.
And if you're interested in what we're talking about, Barbara Lee being a chair of the Democratic caucus, you can help make that happen by voting in the general election to be sure the Democrats win the House. That'll give them even more power and give her even more power when she becomes Democratic caucus chair. It doesn't mean as much being chair of a caucus that doesn't hold a majority in Congress.
Absolutely. We need her in that chair position, and we need people voting. I mean, again, I think this is one of the most exciting possibilities for Democrats since 45 has been elected. Again, just think of it. If anyone who has ever said resist needs to think about what it means for Barbara Lee to be chair. Someone who has a diasporic grounding, someone who is now the whip of that House caucus on income and poverty and opportunity. But think about what it means for Maxine Waters to lead financial services. I mean, that makes my temperature rise a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just extremely exciting in terms of the attempts by the Republicans, and they've done a lot to weaken Dodd-Frank. We can re-strengthen Dodd-Frank. We can Maxine can do some things in terms of the chairs have subpoena power. Think about Elijah Cummings asking for internal information about all kinds of things. Because it crosses all areas. Government operations. He could get information about the Mueller investigation.
Right.
That we know has been suppressed. We can look at other things that have been suppressed. And, think about looking at the Department of Education and Betsy DeVoid. I call her devoid because she's devoid of good sense.
Right. I love it.
Think about what has been done in terms of education, opportunities for our young people. Internal investigations with oversight power.
That's right.
Can help us to understand how is it that her family owns private universities, private charter schools, and she's in charge of that. And therefore, then she weakens the Obama rules on financial responsibility, so that what these for-profit colleges who are ripping off our people, they're most likely to go for-profit colleges, black folks, non-traditional women, veterans, and returning citizens. Those are the four groups of people who are most likely to go to these for-profit colleges.
Yeah.
Those colleges are funded by student loans.
Yeah.
That's how you pay. You can get a Pell Grant to go to one of these for-profit colleges. But if the college closes, you are just basically SOL.
That's right.
And not only are you SOL, but essentially, so you're on the hook to pay those loans back. You can't transfer to another school. You have just basically danced in an exercise of spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
So, I just look forward to seeing Cummings. I asked him, I said, man, what are you going to subpoena? He said everything.
I know that's right. And he can also hold public hearings. Not
Absolutely.
The ones not like these that have been closed door. Folks, Dr. Julianne Malveaux calling in this morning to endorse the candidacy of Congresswoman Barbara Lee for Democratic Caucus Chair. I am doing that as well. Barbara Lee had already said to us on the air in an interview during the Congressional Black Caucus that this was her intention. So history can be made. Get out and vote in these midterms. You can help make history so that the Democratic Caucus Chair is the chair of a caucus that has the majority. Support these Democrats as they run for office and by voting in the midterms. Dr. Julianne Malveaux has been our very special guest. Dr. Malveaux, thank you for joining me early on this Monday morning.
Thank you so much. Like I said, can't think of a better way to start a Monday morning, and y'all vote.
All right.
Just
Amen.
Vote.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Malveaux.
Thank you. Take
care. Enjoy your day. Folks, we'll be back. Sirius XM Progress 127, Resistance Radio. Get woke and vote. Get out the vote. This is MIP.